Good morning, everybody. It's 1:20 in the morning. How much you need. And we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez. Why this is going to be an interesting conversation is because, and permit me to, it's raining in the night. I'm going to go outside. I'll turn off this light here. I'm going to walk outside and we'll continue this discussion outside. Now, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is right now he's the cash cow of boxing. He's the pound for pound king of boxing. Some people disagree with that, but most people agree with it. More people agree with it than disagree at this point in time. Many a boxer thinks he's the pound for pound champ. And you're hearing the same criticisms of Canelo, some of them at least. They seem to parallel the criticisms of Floyd. They talk about how Floyd's fights were fixed. But usually the criticisms that you hear are unfounded. That is, there's no facts to support them. And they usually come from haters. All right, to be honest with you, haters are the ones that usually say these things. But Canelo patterned himself after Floyd Mayweather in many respects. Canelo tried to be the face of clean boxing. Floyd was one of the pioneers for clean boxing and for drug testing by bodies outside of sanctioning bodies. And Canelo's an advocate for that as well. Until he got caught with clenbuterol in his system, he was considered the face of clean boxing. Does Canelo have clenbuterol in his system for other fights? So far, VADA hasn't found anything else, and he's been tested year-round. Now, Canelo is the cash cow of boxing right now. Floyd Mayweather was the cash cow of boxing. So was Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd's predecessor and Canelo's predecessor as well. Some people feel that Oscar had some controversial fights. His fight with Pernell Whitaker, for example. People all felt that Whitaker was robbed in that fight. I'm one of them. Oscar also had a fight with Ike. Was it Ike Butte? Anyway, I can't remember. I think it's Ike Butte. I can't remember it. But he had a fight with him, and they thought that Bazooka won. Oscar's fight with Felix Trinidad. It was thought that Oscar won that fight. He lost that one. And the second fight with Shane Mosley, they thought Oscar won that fight. He lost that one. But what I can say is, Canelo, some of the charges that people who don't like Canelo are giving are some of the same charges that people gave to Floyd Mayweather. Case in point. When Canelo was fighting Sergey Kovalev, the crowd started booing the fight because it was a tactical fight. Interesting. People thought that Floyd's fights were boring. Canelo using a smart approach to boxing. People thought several of Canelo's fights that he lost them. People thought in 3 of Floyd's fights that he lost them. People say Floyd lost the Jose Luis Castillo first fight. They said he lost the Oscar De La Hoya fight. And they said he lost the Marcos McDonough fight. With Canelo, They said that Canelo lost the Erislandy Lara fight, that he lost the first Triple G fight, and that he, let me see, that he lost the fight, the Cotto fight. There you go. Those are the three. They said the second Triple G fight could have been a draw. When you look at Canelo's career, it does seem to have a similar sort of trajectory as Floyd Mayweather's career. I'll give you an example of what I mean. As Canelo gets bigger and bigger in the sport of boxing, more and more people are riffed because of him. There's a certain section of people who just hate Canelo. They don't like him. They hate him. And it's not just the black community, but even Mexican people hate him. There's this rift. Came out of nowhere, it seems. Floyd Mayweather was an outspoken athlete. Everyone feels that Vegas was for Floyd because Floyd was boxing in Vegas. And he had an unfair advantage over everybody else. That he would enforce things like catch weights or the gloves that you should wear, using his A-side privilege. And as a result of that, a lot of people did not like Floyd. Of course, it was his personality mostly that people didn't like. It's interesting that Canelo is following that. He's getting, categorized in that same sort of mode. People don't like Canelo's personality. They don't like the choices he make, how he would just dismiss a certain fighter and decide, I'm going to fight this one. They don't like that he has choices and options. They don't like that it seems as though the judges favor him, and De La Hoya Promotions Company seems to have some sway over the judges. They don't like that he beat their favorite fighters, whether it's the black community with Erislandy Lara, at least certain black YouTube channels, not all of them, or it's the white GGG hopefuls and the white hope GGG that he beat, and in the manner he beat him. I think there's a sentiment brewing, a seething of hate for Canelo, but yet there's a seething for love for Canelo as well. And to me, it's hypocritical. I'll explain what I mean. Some of the people who love Canelo Alvarez hate Floyd Mayweather. The very reasons that they give for why they love Canelo are the same reasons that they deny for liking Floyd Mayweather. It's interesting that the tables turn, and some of the people who hate Canelo, for the very same reasons that they said they love Floyd and defend Floyd, they cannot see. Those are the very same reasons they should love Canelo and defend Canelo. The irony is that there are a lot of fake-ass fans in the boxing community who align with people because they choose to like a person. And they will develop their whole argument and reasonings behind that person. There is no consistency because these people will twist their story or narrative to suit what they like. The irony of the situation is that Canelo and Floyd Mayweather are so closely linked that, in fact, a lot of what Canelo has learned from fighting Floyd is what he implements today. The A-side privilege that Canelo uses in boxing was as a result of learning about that in negotiations with Floyd Mayweather. Canelo owns his own company, CANELO Promotions. He has people under his banner already. What's interesting about Canelo is he's following the mode that Floyd has. It's interesting that when Floyd schooled Canelo on the sweet science as degrading, embarrassing, Heartbreaking as it was for Canelo, for he didn't want to box, Leonard Ellaby encouraged him back on the path. And Floyd was adamant that this guy could fucking fight. And that he's not done. As damaging as it was at the time and a bitter pill to swallow for Canelo, how he was schooled, Canelo took that experience and learned a lot from it. Now, Canelo always had the attributes that Floyd had. Floyd saw this from me very young when he saw Canelo at the age of, I think it was 19 or 18 or something like that. And Oscar De La Hoya previewed Canelo. This is after Canelo was under the Golden Boy Promotions banner. And Floyd saw Canelo and he said, Oscar, you got a special one here. Floyd could see from the get-go that Canelo was a very special fighter. And Floyd, when he faced Canelo, he faced him at the right time. Both for Canelo and for himself. Because though Canelo was schooled in that fight, there was still some competition between him and Floyd. Floyd was a bit quicker. Floyd was much more accurate. Floyd was much more composed. Floyd was much more experienced. There were things Floyd was doing in there Canelo had never seen before. And Floyd showed Canelo how to back up a bigger fighter. Floyd showed Canelo how to stand in the pocket against a bigger fighter. Keep your composure. Keep that mindset. He showed Canelo many things of which Canelo does not discuss with anyone. Once interviewed by a reporter, I can't remember if it was Fight Hub TV or Ellie Seckback. Ellie asked Canelo, did you learn a lot from the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight when you fought Floyd? And he said, absolutely. And Ellie said, well, tell me some of the things that you learned. And he said, I can't tell you that. That's a secret. And when Floyd was interviewed and asked, which of the great fighters that he faced he thinks is number one, Floyd told him, now the great fighters that I faced were Miguel Cotto, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, Marquez. Well, you guys don't know which one is the best of them. I know. I know which one's the best. And he left it right there. And we all know Floyd, as much as he criticizes Canelo and talks about money and stuff now because Canelo seems to be his rival or whatever, we all know Floyd, he backs Canelo silently in the background. The reason being that he saw from the first time he laid eyes on Canelo the potential that this kid had. And you guys say what you want, Canelo can fucking fight. And he's proving it to the world, and he's showing the world what he's capable of doing. When Canelo fought Erislandy Lara, he was wilder. He was missing more wildly. Wasn't cutting off the ring very well, but yet he still got the win because he still could go to the bottom. The Canelo that you saw against Sergey Kovalev was a much more composed Canelo. Took his time. Kept his composure. That Canelo is totally different to the Canelo that faced Erislandy Lara. Canelo learned a lot when he was schooled in the sweet science by Floyd Mayweather. A lot. In many respects, Canelo is Floyd Mayweather's protege and an extension of Floyd Mayweather's legacy. And he is the continuance of the sweet science of boxing. A lot of people say that Salvador Sanchez was the greatest Mexican fighter. A lot of people say that Julio Cesar Chavez is one of the greatest Mexican fighters, or the greatest Mexican fighter. Canelo's 29. How many more years does Canelo have? He has enough to finish off the 11 fights that he has with DAZN and probably form some other contract. But the one thing is certain about Canelo Alvarez, not only does he call the shots in boxing, not only is the face of boxing, but Canelo Alvarez, by the end of his career, if he's not the greatest Mexican fighter that ever lives, he'll be close to it. You look at this guy's resume at 29, you look at where he will be in about 3 more years' time, the kinds of fights he will have, the level of opposition he will face, it'll be nothing short of stellar, win, lose, or draw. He would follow in the footsteps of Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, Julio Cesar Chavez, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard. Great fighters. His legacy is going to be incredible. And the thing about Canelo is he's showing us so many variations of the style that he knows. Canelo can walk you down with a half guard, box around the ring with the half guard. He can come forward with the high guard. He can come forward with the 2 guard. He could show you the rolling shoulders. He can roll his hips. He can walk to you that way. He can walk to you side on with the 2 guard. He can walk to you square with the 2 guard. So there's many different looks that Canelo has been showing people over the years. And in every single fight, he's done something different. And the only reason why I talk about this is because Floyd was that kind of fighter. Julio Cesar Chavez was not. I think Canelo is more skilled than Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. I think that Canelo is a fighter who actually brings to the table attributes that remind me more of James Toney, Floyd Mayweather, El Finito Lopez, Pancho Villa. He brings those sort of things to the table. He brings more of the sweet science. Of course, some people don't like to hear me say he's more skilled than Julio Cesar Chavez. But if you think about it, Julio Cesar Chavez brought to the table mostly a jab when he's boxing on the back foot. He brings to the table the 2 guard when he's going to go to the inside. He dip or bob and weave to get to the inside. Those were the things that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. brought to the table. He's very good at what he did. Good body puncher to stop the opponent. But when you look at what Canelo brings to the table, he doesn't just bring those things. He brings a lot more. And that's why I said he has a little bit of Duran. He has a little bit of Mike McCallum. He has a little bit of James Toney. He has a little bit of Floyd. He has a little bit of Chavez and what Chavez would do. He has a combination of different styles. And when you see Canelo come to the table, he's always bringing something different. That's why a lot of fighters can't read him. Danny Jacobs said he was going to knock out Canelo. And he can do shit to him. Well, until the later rounds, where he was actually doing something. Not a whole lot. And you hear Abel Sanchez admit that you can't catch Canelo clean. You don't hit him clean. Right? He brings things from the Mexican school of boxing. El Finito Lopez. Nacho Berisstein's kind of training. You see that sort of thing with how they roll punches, how they ride punches, how he throws his left hook. You see those kinds of things. But at the same time, as much as he can beat you up and walk you down, beat you up, get to the inside and beat you up. Canelo can do more than that. And we're seeing all kinds of dimension to his game. And I remember Canelo talking just before the second Triple G fight, and he said Mexican style involves a variety of boxing skills. Salvador Sanchez was beautiful to watch, smooth as silk, you know, beautiful styles. Now, hold on a second. Let me just see what's up before I continue. Machine Gun Funk says, do you think Callum can avenge his brother's loss? And Machine Gun Funk says, you too, a Canelo fanboy. I'm out. Okay. You know, it's interesting. I get accused of all kinds of things. I've been accused of being a Floyd Mayweather Flomo. Now I guess I'm getting accused of being a Canelo fanboy. You know, just because I'm praising the fighter and I'm praising their attributes and I'm breaking down what that fighter really is. A lot of people don't like that. Especially when I said that Canelo is a much more skillful fighter than Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know, that sounds inflammatory, especially where there's this negative sentiment towards Canelo. I expect this stuff. Now I listen to this guy and he comes in and he says, you think Callum Smith can avenge his brother's loss? You know why he's saying that? Because he wants Canelo to get beat, probably. So that's why he came on here. Not understanding that I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather and Canelo, and I'm going to talk about these two fighters for a reason. Now, here's another guy. Shout out to Jose Caranau. I don't worship fighters, by the way, but I do appreciate what they bring to the game. Canelo is a complete and such a special fighter. You are right. Canelo is a great son of the sweet science. Yeah, I mean, you know, Canelo just doesn't just go in there and be macho, you know. You know, depending on the type of fighter he's facing, he may carve up that fighter. He does have weaknesses in his game. He's working on those things. The weaknesses in his game, there are a couple of weaknesses he has in his game. The first one is Canelo has to go find, if he has to go find you, he don't like that. Now in this fight where he had to go find Sergey Kovalev, and Kovalev knew how to use the footwork and the movement and the pivots and stuff to keep Canelo off of him. Again, it was the difficult fight for Canelo. But he kept his composure and he kept doing what he was doing and he kept on breaking down Kovalev where he could find the available places. And he got the stoppage. The fight was close. I think Canelo being so young and being 29 years of age and having this kind of resume already at 29 years of age, let's see if he can make it to 36, 37. I mean, I think that this kid, I mean, he took some punishment with Sergey Kovalev. That jab, as people said, Sergey Kovalev wasn't pumping that jab. Listen, man, if you look at Canelo's face, that jab was a hard jab. Okay, that was a hard jab that Canelo was getting to his forehead because his forehead was swollen up. Okay, and he had to wear glasses on his eyes. So Kovalev was hitting pretty hard, but it's just that, like I try to explain to people, and you saw me praise Kovalev. I can't give enough praise to Kovalev in this fight, not because he surprised me. He simply surprised me. Okay, and I think he has a lot more to offer. Yes, he's at the end of his game and all of that. I understand what people are saying, but he's not done yet. This Kovalev is not done yet. I'm telling you guys that now, and don't be surprised if he becomes world champion again. But back to what I was saying. Canelo, I've always explained to people, and Troy King will be testify to this, and DT3, the Boom Man, will testify to this because these guys know boxing. Canelo's one of those boxers that is defensively responsible. As a result, you're not going to knock out Canelo. And Kovalev kind of knew this. He tried, in round one, he teed off with that right hand. So he he doubled up the jab and then he punched with a hard jab to Canelo, and Canelo snapped back and still blocked it. And he swept over with the right hand to try and hook Canelo over the guard, and he couldn't catch him. And that's when Kovalev realized this guy's different. And no one in the sport of boxing, not even Andre Ward, did to Kovalev what Canelo did. He walked him down for 11 rounds. That has never happened before. So people are asking, how did Canelo do that? Other people are asking this question. They're saying, Canelo, well, I listened to it on the Mayweather boxing channel where there's this guy who's generally he speaks his mind. It's not necessarily the popular opinion, but he speaks his mind. And he said, he said Canelo wasn't really landing anything on Kovalev, which is not true, but it is what it is. But in the 11th round, he knocks him out with an overhand right. It's a basically a one-punch knockout. This is what he said. Now, that's not true either. All right. If you guys were watching the series of punches, because Canelo ain't got that kind of power, okay? You see, there's a lot I want to say. First of all, Canelo at light heavyweight, he's not that great a puncher. He's not this power puncher that this knockout looked great and sensational, but it was set up, okay? And it took a bunch of punches to get Kovalev out of there, okay? It wasn't just one punch. But a lot of people think that Canelo, it appeared that Canelo knocked him out with one punch, right? What really happened was Canelo threw a left-right combination. Kovalev had just thrown a jab from the southpaw stance. He slid across to the left, and then Canelo slid across with him to cut off the ring. And Canelo jumped. Canelo basically did an inside pivot. He pivoted to the weak side of Kovalev and threw a left-right combination. The left combination, the left hook was blocked by Kovalev, but the right caught Kovalev. And then Canelo, it stunned him a little bit, and then Canelo hit him with a second right hand. The second right hand, so it was a left, right, right, okay? The second right hand stunned him. And he sort of stumbled a little bit off to the right. Canelo threw a third right hand. That third right hand, Kovalev took well. And then Canelo cut off the ring, came back and approached him. I think he threw the left hand, but he threw it from low to high. He threw the left hand as if it was going to go to the body. Kovalev tried to brace to protect the body and left his top open, and Canelo clipped him on the top. And because Canelo had been throwing left hooks to the body for most of the fight, even though he did throw a left hook to the head, Kovalev was expecting a left hook to the body. So he went to protect the body, kind of like an Adrian Broner, Marcus Maidana kind of shot, where Marcus Maidana knocked down Adrian Broner. Okay, well, Canelo didn't have that kind of power to knock down Kovalev with that shot, but he caught him just on the button of the chin, or I think on the temple area. I can't remember which one it was. And it stunned Kovalev, and he literally his whole body buckled, and he moved back. This is later on in the fight where Kovalev is already tired. He's weight drained, so he's tired, and all of that. And so he stumbles backward. And then Canelo, again, goes weak side. He's already stunned, and he hits him a clean right hand on the chin. Okay? Clean right hand on the chin. And his head goes the other way. And when his head does that, you see his whole head do like this. He's gone. He's knocked out. Kovalev just hits the canvas, almost falls out of the ring with that punch. So that's what happened. Again, you don't have to be, I was explaining to people, I say it over and over again, you don't have to be this great power puncher to knock out somebody. There's about 3 pounds of pressure it takes to knock out anybody, especially if you catch them right. And in this case, he caught him on the button of the chin. This is after he's already stunned and his whole system's frozen up. Okay. Boom. That's it. Okay. Now, Canelo wanted to make sure he was alive and all right. Now, the question is, was Canelo hitting Kovalev with harder punches than Kovalev was hitting him? From the evidence of Canelo's face compared to Kovalev's face, even though Kovalev had a bloody nose, somewhere around the 8th round, 9th round, I can tell you Kovalev was the guy that did the more damage. So all those little so-called pity-pat punches that Kovalev seemed to be hitting Canelo with, oh, they weren't pity-pat punches. Okay? Kovalev was the harder puncher of the two, I think. He did more damage whenever he landed his stuff. And he didn't even have to land it clean. But Canelo's defense was so good that he managed to be able to deal with that. Otherwise, he probably had to have a bloody face and just be messed up completely and wrecked. Okay. The next point is this. There's a difference between sharp punching, okay? Sharp, clean punching, and power punching. A guy that punches with serious power and has heavy hands and thudding power. Kovalev has heavy hands and thudding power. You could tell. All right, you saw the damage to Canelo's face, and that's just off of jabs. Okay, if Kovalev used to catch him, if Kovalev caught him with a right hand, he'd have put him to sleep. Okay, but Canelo respected the power, took his time, kept his composure, stayed behind his guard. Had good reflexes to snap back, get out of range, bob and weave, dip, and all of that stuff. The good stuff, slip and slide, and he was able to get on the inside, so he wasn't caught as much by Kovalev. Otherwise, Kovalev would have destroyed Canelo. But Canelo, once again, he knows how to inch in on you. He knows how to come in off of angles. He knows how to push a bigger opponent back. I've even seen Mikey Garcia do it a little bit against Errol Spence, push Errol Spence back. Okay, they are tricks of the trade. Floyd Mayweather, you saw him do it against Canelo, and so Canelo learned that from Floyd. There's ways for the smaller fighter to actually walk down the bigger fighter. Canelo was able to do that against Triple G as well. All right. And it's because of the angles he's taking, the guard that he's using, the ability to roll punches, stay in the pocket, not get hit. He can stay right in the pocket, not get hit. You know, even if you're getting hit by jabs, they're not power jabs. Anytime the guy puts mustard on his shot, you're able to get out of the way of those shots and counter with yours. And that's what you saw. Sharp. Canelo was sharp as a fucking tack. He was sharp. He was on it. And that's what you saw. It wasn't that he was hitting harder. He wasn't hitting harder than Kovalev. No fucking way. The one thing about being the bigger opponent, generally speaking, as a thumb of rule, is not always true. I mean, Floyd was quicker than Marquez, and Errol Spence was quicker than Mikey Garcia. But as a rule of thumb, the bigger guy generally is slower than the smaller guy coming up. Cruzito G says that boy Canelo threw counter sweeping fake hook that seemed to the body, but it was really for the top. Yep, he feinted him to the body and went up top. That's correct. So, and the action's almost the same because Canelo doesn't ever look when he's hooking, right? He will hook. He'll throw the hook. You're not seeing him. He's turning his whole body. He gets as much torque as he can into that hook, but he's really coming up top. He kind of like Danny Garcia, the no-look kind of hook that he hit you with. Now, Canelo just had enough pop to keep Sergey honest, and he was sharp. The key, you see, a lot of people don't understand boxing. The sharper you are with shots is the more effective you're going to be. The sharper your punches, okay? And the thing that Canelo had over Kovalev was his reaction time was going to be a lot faster. And he had just ridiculous reaction time to Kovalev. So, but he had to keep the timing as well. So he had to do it at the rate that Kovalev was going. And Canelo was able to circle Kovalev. If you look, in the very first round of the fight, Canelo circled Kovalev twice. In the very first round of Mayweather versus Marcus Maidana 2, Mayweather circled Marcus Maidana twice. In the very first round of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard circled Marvin Hagler twice. So you see the strategy that Canelo was implementing in Floyd and Sugar Ray Leonard. You see what he does? It's systematic. And all of this just to tell you, he's not a fighter like Elita Alvarez. He's not a fighter like Anthony Yard, where they burn up also the excessive energy, you know, doing things that are not necessary. Canelo, Floyd, they keep their composure. They don't expend a whole lot of energy. Canelo was able to go 11 rounds, not tire out a second. Probably took the 8th round off, but not really tire off. And that's because Canelo he started to hone this fucking science that is called the sweet science, so that he doesn't waste any kind of punches or energy. And even if he misses a shot, he's cool. He keeps his composure. Make sure he keeps his defense tight. And all of this stuff he really learned from Floyd. You know, when he was facing Austin Trout, it was a different Canelo. He was having fun with Austin Trout, playing his defense and stuff, but still expending a little bit too much energy, you know. And Canelo's now started to hone this shit down to a fucking sweet science. He's not wasting energy. He's not wasting energy. You know, like how Floyd is economical with his punches, Canelo was economical with his punches. So people were saying Canelo wasn't doing enough, yet Canelo was going to the body. A lot of body work. Was doing a lot of body work on Sergey Kovalev. But he could, but Sergey Kovalev at the same time was blocking some of those shots, was taking some of the steam off the body work. The typical left hook to the body that Canelo thought would have been available there was closed. He was protecting his body pretty well. So he was landing mostly light right hooks to the spleen or straight shots to the spleen. He was getting the spleen shots in. He was getting the stab to the pit in. He was getting a hook to the solar plexus. So he was getting Kovalev to his chest, to his solar plexus. He was getting those hooks in. He was not getting the liver hooks in. And I thought Kovalev did a very good job of protecting his body in that fight. And Canelo also cramped Kovalev for space, so Kovalev couldn't really extend his jab like he really wanted to. So he had to use the touch jab to just make sure he find where Canelo was. Because if you go and ask Sergey Kovalev about sizing up Canelo and what he learned about Canelo, I'm pretty sure Sergey Kovalev is going to say, man, finding this guy's rhythm is a little bit of a problem. You know, getting his rhythm is a weird thing. Because Canelo's rhythm, like Floyd's rhythm, is hard to read. It's hard to read Canelo. You don't know what he's going to do next. And so, and when you make a move, Canelo's just going to make a move just enough to negate your move. So he's reading you pretty well. And he's reading opponents pretty well. He's reading them better and better, you know. So technically speaking, when you talk about Canelo and Floyd, I think those names are forever going to be linked. You know, it's one of the things I know people don't want to talk about Floyd, but you heard Bernard Hopkins, you heard Oscar De La Hoya speak about the fact that Floyd was a big influence on Canelo. It wasn't that Canelo didn't have the skill sets, but Floyd made Canelo work even more on those skill sets, hone those skill sets that he had. You know, Canelo has his own way of rolling punches. He doesn't really throw the check hook when he rolls and certain things like that. He has his own little Mexican style, Mexican way that Rose has taught him how to do things. But you saw Canelo in the Cotto fight use some of the tricks that Floyd did to him. You saw Canelo doing it to Cotto. You saw Canelo fighting like Floyd against Triple G in the first fight, right? You saw Canelo using that when he's advancing towards his opponent with the two guard up. Sometimes he switched from the two guard to the half guard. That's a Floyd Mayweather kind of move. Sometimes he would you know, snap back off of the two guard, go to the half guard, snap back into the two guard. You know, him leaning in with the two guard is something that Triple G actually does, and Canelo kind of does that too. So he borrowed things from Triple G, from facing Triple G. He picked up stuff from almost every opponent that he faces. He picks up something. So the Canelo that you see today is a different Canelo. Now I heard people talking about Canelo has foot injuries. What I noticed though is his legs not band up enough. But again, at the top level, you get injuries. Okay, you get foot injuries, you get arm injuries. Andre Ward had foot injuries for a while. His feet was the first thing to go, Andre Ward said. So it's not surprising that Canelo has foot injuries at this point in his career. That doesn't mean he can't have a long, successful career. It's how he heals up, how he rests himself, etc. But at the end of the day, you know, I think that Canelo has been influenced by Floyd Mayweather. Now, the Mexican fans or the Mexican public maybe want a third Triple G fight, Canelo to bring a third Triple G fight. I know that the fans wanted him to face also Demetrius Andrade from the various polls that we had. I know that the fans would want that. I was listening to some of you guys, like, let me see what's his name here. Machine Gun Funk was saying that he was wondering if Callum Smith might be able to avenge his brother's loss. Who knows? Canelo might face Callum Smith next. We don't know who. Canelo has so many options. We don't know if he'll stay at 175. We don't know if he'll go down to 168. We don't know if he'll fight at 160. Quite frankly, the guy got defense. So he can do whatever the hell he wants. If he wants to stay at 175, fight Bevo or even Bitterbeef, he can do it. Okay? I'm not guaranteeing that he would beat either guy. But what I can say is that I'm pretty sure he can hang with them because he's got the defense. And Bivol even stated that, you know, his defense is the thing that allows him to be able to do these crazy shit. Because Canelo came in 177 according to Hulk 333. He came in 177, and Kovalev came in 191. Right, so Kovalev outweighed him by 14 pounds, and Canelo still was able to, walk down Kovalev. It's very impressive. Yo, my mojo so dope 23. Man, you guys are up at weird hours in the night. I thought I was up late. He asked me, how did you score it by the time of the stoppage? I had it close. Could have gone 1 point either way. Okay, so at the end of the 10th round, I had it 5-5. So Kovalev was in the fight all the way, point-wise. But the fight was going Canelo's way. The momentum had changed since the eighth round or the 7th round. Canelo really was doing his thing. But point-wise, Kovalev was also sort of making adjustments, and he was able to stave off Canelo for a good period of time and still throw punches at Canelo. Not just the jab, but also some other punches he would throw in there. He tried to counter Canelo coming in, but Canelo would pull up and just change his mind and not come in, or keep the guard tight and take the punches on the guard, and then still try to throw counters. Yo, my mojo so dope 23 says Kovalev's length and size was giving Canelo a handful. I thought it wasn't so much his length and size, it was his movement. Canelo was expecting to be able to land punches to the body. And when Canelo started doing his trademark moves, he realized, when he threw the left hook to the body, he realized that Kovalev had covered up that area. And Kovalev, when Canelo would come in, Kovalev would pivot off to his left. So he would jab and pivot off to his left. So even though Canelo comes in on him, he would take the steam off the punch while Canelo's throwing hooks and stuff. Sometimes Kovalev tried to counter. I remember Canelo throwing I think it was he threw a jab, and I think Kovalev threw a jab. Canelo countered the jab with a right, and Kovalev countered Canelo with a right, and both of them landed their rights, but it was one after the other. Kovalev was pulling back for a second. Canelo countered him with the right, and Kovalev threw his right and as a counter to Canelo's right, which I thought was brilliant, and caught Canelo as Canelo's pulling back. So I thought that was brilliant. But by and large, Canelo was catching Kovalev to the head. So while Kovalev was protecting the body, Canelo continuously caught him with left hooks. And then Kovalev at first was succeeding at getting in with the clinches. And then Canelo started to stave him off with the forearm. So he would run into the forearm in the clinch. And Canelo would use that opportunity as Kovalev's off balance to catch him with. He would step around him and catch him with the overhand right. And he did that a couple times. And that's what led up to the 11th round stoppage, where instead of Canelo, Kovalev had just thrown a right from the southpaw stance, slid off to the corner. Canelo stepped around him, right? He stepped around him, and he threw the left hook right hand. So instead of just throwing a right hand, overhand right, he stepped around him and he hit him with a left hook right hand. And then he hit him with a second right hand. The second right hand, Kovalev took better than the first one. The first one stunned him. Second one, and then he caught him with the left hook again, and then he finished it off with the right hand. And again, Canelo's footwork is ridiculously quick. He's very quick in getting into position when he needs to, but he doesn't waste energy. So yeah, it was interesting. He stepped around Kovalev a couple times and caught him with overhand rights. And Kovalev was circling out as he realized what that was going to happen. The weak side, he circled out. He tried to circle out to get out of the way, but Canelo was so quick getting into position, he could still catch him with the right. Sometimes he catch him with a double right hand. It was crazy. There was a lot of chess going on in there. It was beautiful, beautiful to watch. I'm still watching the fight because I'm breaking it down, but it was crazy. Yeah, so going into the 10th, I had it 5-all, but Canelo was taking the 11th. He definitely stepped it up. He stepped it up in the 10th, and then he stepped it up in the 11th. And Eddie Reynoso told him to take him out. He told him to take out Kovalev because he realized Kovalev was tiring and stuff like that. That's why somewhere around the I think it was the ninth, Kovalov looked pretty tired, to be honest with you. In the 10th, he picked it back up. He picked it back up, and they was really throwing in the 10th. And then in the 11th, you know, Canelo really opened up on Kovalov and took him out of there. Yo, my mojo so dope 23 says, I also see Roberto Duran, James Toney influences. Yeah, I said those names. I said those names. Yo, my mojo so dope 23 says, what do you think of some people claiming the fight was fixed? Oh, that fight wasn't fixed. That fight wasn't fixed. Like I said before, the fight was very competitive. Now, one judge had it 95-95. Another judge had it 96-94. 96-94. Two judges had it 96-94. So they had Canelo ahead by 2 points. Whereas the other judge had it 95-95. I had the same thing. I had a dead even coming out of the 10th. Sometimes Kovalov would take a round, and then Canelo would come back and take the other round. It was very competitive. They were making adjustments all the time. And I didn't expect that. I predicted a knockout because I thought Canelo was going to run through Kovalov because Kovalov was weight drained. But he did well. In spite of the weight drain and all of that stuff, he did very well. He's still tired out. And Kovalev generally tires out later on in the fight. People thought Canelo would tire out, but Canelo was way, way efficient. And he knew what he was doing. And he was the one applying the pressure. So Canelo kept his composure. Kovalev didn't keep his composure as much. He was more frenetic. So, no, I don't believe the fight was fixed. I think those people claiming that they have an issue with Canelo, they don't like Canelo. Most of the people saying that they have some sort of issue with Canelo. Even professional guys I saw saying that, and I just don't agree with that. And people will say, well, you're a Canelo fan. You're a fanboy. You're a Canelo. I just listen. I don't even, there's certain things where I just, if I'm a Canelo fanboy, why is it that I criticize him for not facing Demetrius Andrade? Why did I say that the Kovalev fight was a shit fight? I've recanted that statement. It's not a shit fight. Kovalev boxed beautifully. They had a game plan for Canelo. Buddy McGirt did impress me. Kovalev did surprise me, but it wasn't a shit fight. Kovalev is a good fighter. But what I'm saying is that I wanted Canelo to face Demetrius Andrade, and I still do. I would love to see him face Demetrius Andrade, whether it's at 168, whatever. I think that was going to be well. Now that I've seen how good Kovalev was, Kovalev deserves, he deserves his props. But I think that Demetrius Andrade has much more all-around game than Kovalev does. That's what I would say. Whereas Kovalev would clinch you up, but he did protect his body very well, so I got to give him that. But I do believe the fight was not fixed. I think a lot of the things that people saw that Kovalev was doing, I don't think they appreciate how hard that guy hits. I think because Canelo looked so sharp in there, Kovalev didn't look as sharp. So people were saying, well, he wasn't throwing the lead right. He was throwing the lead right. Kovalev was throwing some bombs at a certain point in time. Okay, round 10 he was throwing bombs. Okay, round 8 he wasn't throwing as many bombs, but he caught Canelo with a couple of shots. And then when he cornered Canelo, he teed off on Canelo with a lovely body punch, and then Canelo started counterpunching him, and then Canelo would just stay there waiting on him, kind of coiled up waiting on him, and Kovalev threw a couple other shots that were blocked. Kovalev said, I ain't gonna waste my energy on this shit, and he backed off. Buddy McGirt exhorted him, said you should use the jab more on him then, But you have to know what you're dealing with. Sometimes you're walking into a trap. And Kovalev would know that his jab wasn't, as much as he was throwing the jab, it wasn't landing that much. It was being blocked a lot, parried a lot, countered a lot. So Kovalev was very tentative because of that. He was even missing with the jab and missing with the lead hand. I remember he threw a jab and he really put some heat behind the right hand. And Canelo just bobbed under that. He bobbed under the shit and standing right in front of Kovalev, right up on him. He didn't do nothing, but he was right up on Kovalev. All the distance that Kovalev had was gone. And that's not what Kovalev wanted. So you don't put too much heat behind your shots if you can't find your target. And his target, and Canelo's target is very elusive. Ask Kovalev. He'll tell you. Pity he couldn't talk in the post-fight conference, but we'll hear more from him. But actually, we saw Kovalev after, and he was talking about his boxing when he lost. He said, that's boxing. But he boxed pretty good, man. He boxed good. He was in the fight. He was in that fight. And as the champion, if they fought to a draw, he'd have kept his title. And the fight looked like it was heading towards that, even though Canelo might have taken the 11th, might have even dropped him in the 11th. Who knows? But if he didn't get dropped in the 11th, then he just had the final round, the championship round. And could he have taken the championship round? I don't know. You know? But it was a close fight. Yo, my Mojo So Dope 23 says, definitely not the same Kovalev pre-Ward. But regardless, Canelo's a 4-time champ. I would say this. He's not the same Kovalev. He's not the crusher. Okay? He's not the even though he was the crusher against Sabransky when he won back the WBO title, the vacant WBO. He was the crusher there. He was the crusher. He looked like the crusher against the Russian dude that he faced after. But then against Elita Alvarez, he was boxing him very well, and but Elita Alvarez was equal to the task, like I said before. Even though Elita Alvarez got a busted cheekbone or something from a headbutt, whatever, and then put him down in the 9th round. And then when he boxed Elita Alvarez the second time, he put some heat behind his punches and shit, But then when he faced Anthony Yard, once again, he didn't really throw the right hand much. He was using the jab a lot. He was pressing Anthony Yard with the jab. But again, Anthony Yard was keeping the fight mostly in the center of the ring. He wasn't getting Anthony Yard to the ropes. Anthony Yard was keeping his defense pretty tight. So Kovalev wasn't really landing punches on Anthony Yard like he wanted to. In fact, in the Elita Alvarez fights as well, he wasn't really landing on Elita Alvarez like that. Now, Elita Alvarez, he went the second fight. Why Elita Alvarez lost, he had a wrong strategy. He went in there looking to knock out Kovalev, and he was looking for that knockout punch. He wasn't setting up anything. He wasn't working the body, none of that. So that's why he lost the fight. But he lost every round, actually. But if he had a better strategy where he was going to go to the body and stuff, he would have probably done much better. Maybe even get the stoppage. But with the case of Anthony Yard, you saw what happened to Kovalev. He got banged up pretty bad in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. That was some serious punishment he took. And I think that he never recouped from that up to this present fight, fight time. Okay. But yeah, back to what I was saying about Canelo. I think that Canelo is just an extension of a Floyd Mayweather to some degree. I'm surprised that a lot of people don't realize that, but it is what it is. And do I think that the Kovalev pre-Ward, if he would have faced Canelo, if Canelo wouldn't have stopped him, I think Canelo would have stopped him faster. Because that Kovalev was more vulnerable. Like you notice, Kovalev doesn't bring back his right hand sometimes and protect his chin. So that's out there. That's why Canelo caught him with the left hooks to the chin quite a lot in the fight. He don't bring back his right hand to block his chin. So it is what it is. See what you guys are saying in the chat. Daniel Jacobs versus Demetrius Andrade. I love to see that. That's a good fight. That'd be at 168 though. Daniel Jacobs ain't making no 160 anymore. And there's also Chris Eubank Jr. that's joined the 160 division. So now Chris Eubank versus Andrade, Charlo, Derevyanchenko, Triple G. Those are good fights. Jarrett Hurd might come up to 160 very soon, probably at the end of 2020. So, you got Jared Hurd also going to be in that mix. Maybe Jaime Munguia will jump up to 160. So it's a good crop of guys at 160. I don't know if Canelo will go all the way back down to 160. That's a great question. He may go down. He should go down to 168 first. See how he feels at that, and then go down to 160. He should gradually go down to 160. So I think his next fight should be at 168. If he can make that, then he goes down to 160. Don't just jump down to 160 from 175. That might hurt your body a little too much. That's just my thoughts on it. I don't know. But a third Triple G fight, it's not really my thing. But if they want to do it, they can do it. The only thing is, I think that Triple G is in no position to really face Canelo again. I think Canelo kills him. Canelo by murder, legal murder. you know. But it is what it is. Yo, my mojo so dope 23. I respectfully disagree that Kovalev would defeat Kovalev. I'm sorry. I respectfully disagree that Canelo would defeat Kovalev if they were to fight in 2015, 2016, peak Kovalev. Okay. Why do you disagree with that? What makes you think that he wouldn't stop that Kovalev? The fact that Kovalev protects his body is because he learned that he's soft to the body. That's why he was protecting his body in this fight. That crusher Kovalev did not protect his body properly. That's why Andrew Ward was able to stop him in 2017. So I just don't see how the crusher would. Canelo has very good defense, as you can clearly see, and he changed his range. That's why the crusher couldn't really extend his punches like he really wanted to against Canelo. I don't see. You see, a lot of times I look at the deficiency in a guy's defense, the holes in his defense, right? I look at the holes in his defense, and I just don't think that I don't think that, because you can't think like how you thinking. You're thinking about all the good attributes that the crusher has that brings to the table. But a smart fighter like Canelo, Hopkins, Andre Ward, Floyd, Whitaker, Sugar Ray Leonard, all these smart fighters, what they see is how they can neutralize those things that are powerful and make the fighter fight something and do something that they don't want to do. They have to resort to a plan B. So a guy like Canelo, if you notice, how effective was Kovalev's jab on Canelo? He kept him at bay. But usually Kovalev's jab does damage, right? He took out Anthony Yarde with a jab. He hurt Anthony Yarde to the body with a jab, right? He used jabs to jab Anthony Yarde's body from the lower part to the upper part. Why couldn't he jab Canelo to the body successfully? Why? Because Canelo's leaning in. One, his body's far away. Two, he's using the two guard. So any kind of jab would be blocked, right? So that particular guard and that particular style Canelo was utilizing nullified Kovalev's jab. The only thing Kovalev's jab could do is keep his range from Canelo. And Canelo would go past that jab when he was ready to go past it and get to the inside of Kovalev. Kovalev's then neutralizing goal was to clinch up Canelo. That's all he had left. So once Canelo catches up to him, cuts the distance down, he clinch him up. Okay? And then Canelo's composure is what allows him to take his time, dissect his opponent. Whatever available targets are there, he's going to take them down, but he's going to be defensively responsible as much as possible. So he takes minimal punishment to get to the inside. He just has to have a lot more patience. And feint Kovalev. Feint him. And while Kovalev's circling Canelo's still doing his feints and stuff. So people think the traditional Kovalev would have done well against Canelo. I just don't think so. I think he gets stopped. And we saw him get stopped by Alida Alvarez going to the body. And he stopped him rather quickly because he was going to the body from round 5. Alida Alvarez started really going to the body. And he stopped him in 7. right? Ward did the same thing. Remember, in Kovalov's heyday, he didn't really go the distance. He didn't go the distance in a lot of his fights. You see, he's a front runner, right? The first Ward fight with Kovalov, he gassed out by round 6. That's why Ward had started to do work in round 4. Kovalov was gassed out in round 6. He kept his jab pumping, but you saw what Ward did to him in round number 9 of that first fight. I don't know if you remember the overhand right that knocked Kovalov way into the ropes, and his head went outside of the ropes, and he leaned outside of the ropes. Y'all don't remember that. So a prime Kovalov still flawed. He's flawed, and Andre. I need to give you guys some stats, okay? Go look up on BoxRec. Andre Ward's knockout ratio is 50%. He's not a power puncher, okay? You look at Elita Alvarez. His knockout ratio is 48%. He's not a knockout artist. Both those guys stopped Kovalov. Okay? Both those guys stopped Kovalov. Now, our guys with low knockout ratios stopping Kovalov, who has a 70-something% knockout ratio. Canelo Alvarez, he has a higher knockout ratio than Ward and Elita Alvarez. But here's the thing. He's moving up in weight. Canelo's not going to be this tremendous puncher like Kovalov or even like Artur Beterbiev or even like Gvozdyk, okay? Maybe he may have slightly less or greater punching power. I'm only assuming here because I can't really definitively say. Than Dmitry Bivol. Bivol is a small one. He's a small light heavyweight, okay? You can see when he's fighting guys, they're tremendously bigger than him. They look like monsters compared to Bivol, right? I wouldn't be surprised Canelo's even as big as Bivol. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But the point is, Dmitry Bivol, right? What's his knockout ratio? It's not no big knockout ratio either. And my point being, Kovalov was being stopped by guys who are not known to stop people. So when Canelo stopped Kovalov, it wasn't surprising to me. It wasn't surprising to me. And this is where a lot of people didn't get it. They were saying, Canelo don't knock out this guy. He had to knock out that guy. Yeah, but he got respectable power. He got respectable snap. He's got respectable power. He ain't no knockout artist, but he got respectable power. They call him a boxer puncher, but he's really just a boxer. Okay? They say he didn't stop Triple G, but Triple G ain't got body issues. Okay? He didn't stop Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs ain't got body issues. People say he chinny. But we learned pretty soon that Sergey Mora, he knocked him down. But the next fight, Danny Jacobs really stopped him. He didn't get knocked down then. So, yeah, Danny Jacobs is considered chinny. He doesn't get knocked out, but he does get knocked down. Canelo didn't knock him down. Triple G did. But at the end of the day, Canelo is fighting guys who they got all-around game, first of all, and second of all, they're not chinny, okay? Or should I say, they're not weak to the body, okay? They don't have stamina issues and all of that. And Kovalov does. He does. He fades after round 6. He's done it every single time, right? The guys that Canelo has stopped are smaller guys than him. Amir Khan, Liam Smith. Okay, Rocky Fielding is an exception to the rule. But even then, you notice he didn't just stop Rocky Fielding, right? He didn't do like, how he knocked out Amir Khan or how he put down Liam Smith. No, Rocky Fielding was knocked down multiple times in round number 1. The ref called off the fight after Rocky Fielding got dropped the third time. And that's to tell you that Canelo's not this big power puncher. If he was this big power puncher, he hit Rocky Fielding the first time, but Rocky Fielding just stayed down with that body punch. But he got back up. So similarly, he's not this big power puncher. He set that knockout up with Sergey Kovalov, and it was accumulation of shots that eventually did to Sergey Kovalov's undoing. Okay? And he caught him flush. He couldn't get him more flush than that. That right. So that's what set up the knockout of Sergey Kovalov. I think that the younger Sergey Kovalev Canelo, like I said before, if even if Canelo knocked down Sergey Kovalev in his prime, he would have had to do it multiple times. He would have had to knock him down a bunch of times, and with the same shot to the body. But you just go back to the body and just keep on working that, you know. And he still had to be careful and wary of Kovalev's power at the same time. Was Kovalev more aggressive and more take more risk with his punching? Yes, he was much more aggressive, took more risk, um, fought less smart than the Kovalev today. I fancy the Kovalev today over the Kovalev of yesterday. I think he's a smarter fighter. I think he's still got heavy hands. He don't really have to put all that steam behind his punches to hurt somebody. Um, he's not the crusher anymore, you know, but I think he's still dangerous. Hold on a second. Yeah, I believe Kovalev was more assertive. Yeah, more aggressive. He was more aggressive. Yeah, he was more assertive and had more killer instinct. I didn't see any of that in the Canelo fight. Yeah. I agree with you. But again, it's because of what Canelo was doing. When you can't find a guy's rhythm and you can't really find him in space, you're kind of throwing a jab, but you're using touch jabs to try and find out where he is. Um, it's a little bit harder. Okay, especially if the guy sharply counters you after you've been aggressive and you take a punch that you don't really like. You're gonna find yourself in a position where you're more tentative, and that's what happened with Triple G as well. In fact, Danny Jacobs, Triple G, you know, now Kovalev, they all probably tell you the same thing if they're being honest. He seemed a lot more sluggish to me. Yes, he was. He was weight drained. So you're absolutely correct. Not by much though. He wasn't. He wasn't. It wasn't a severe weight drain. And like if he was to do a catch weight, thankfully he didn't have to do a catch weight. So he was a bit sluggish though. But even so, it wasn't. It was exaggerated more. It looked like he was much slower because Canelo was so much more sharper, so much more quicker than him. So he looked even more sluggish than he really was. If you go and watch tapes of Kovalev, just the fight before the Anthony Yard fight, you'll see his speed is not. He's not actually that slow. In the fight against Canelo, you notice that. Oh, okay, that's Kovalev's speed more or less. But he started to fade off as the fight went on. My mojo so dope 23 says also Kovalev has been knocked out several times. That has an effect on the fighter's mental. Absolutely, no doubt about that. But many fighters in the past have been knocked out several times, and Kovalev keeps on coming back and becoming world champion, fighting some notable names and getting victories. So, I mean, the only thing is, like I said before, I don't think that affects Kovalev's mentality. I think the thing about it is that he learned to fight smarter. He knew he had to make changes. He knew he had to have defense. I think he wasn't as comfortable doing what he was doing in the ring against Canelo because he didn't necessarily have the confidence in it. And after he got knocked out, he realized, man, I could do this. But I don't think his confidence is all the way there either. The other thing is, you were talking about him getting knocked out. Well, he almost got knocked out his last fight. It was a tough fight because of the 8th round and the seventh round and the 6th round. So I think that coming out of that tough fight and into the next tough fight for him, I think that also had a part to play in why he fought the way he fought. Canelo hits very hard. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't want to get hit by him. But what I'm saying is that, yes, he hits very hard, but as, say, a light heavyweight, probably not as hard as you think. Maybe he's average. If so, if so much. Yo, my Mojo So Dope 23 says knockouts are rare when you fight the best of the best. Absolutely, I agree. The fight was very competitive. Um, I would say this again about a lot of fighters, okay? Not just Kovalev. I think that a lot of people do not understand what these guys are doing in the ring, the chess matches that they play. And there's no appreciation for it. Mr. Hulk 333. Canelo came out with bad intentions in the 11th. His trainer said, go and kill. Said, go and kill him. Not literally, of course. Yeah, I know. He said, go get him. He whispered in his ear. Time to go get him. So they went and got him. Yep. Kovalev was fading. He was slowing down. And Canelo took him out. And he expended a lot of energy in the 10th as well. So it is what it is. And he was kind of going through the motions, pity patting, kind of touch jabbing and stuff. Andrew Ward said it correctly. Kovalev will go as far as you let him. But he did well, though. He did well. Got to work on that strength and conditioning. I think his confidence has gotten by leaps and bounds because he realized what he was doing with Canelo was effective. It was effective enough, keeping him at bay and stuff like that. It was good. But Canelo had a lot more tricks in the bag. I'll try and break down the fight, like I said, doing videos on it. I may not do any more fight videos tonight, but I will definitely do it at a later time. But again, like I said before, Canelo and Mayweather are interesting cats. What I mean by that is, I'm going to go back in the front here. Bear with me for a second. With their success comes haters. With their success comes haters. And sometimes the hate is real. It's tremendous. And I could see a lot of people hating on these guys now. Because Canelo's so successful. He's making a lot of money, for himself and Oscar. And then on top of that, Canelo he's beating these guys. He's beating all these guys. A lot of people picked Kovalev. A certain set of people picked Kovalev to beat Canelo because they wanted to see Canelo lose. So there are actually people coming now to see Canelo lose, and hoping for his downfall. Kovalev was doing a great job keeping distance and trying to protect his body from counterattacks. Yeah, he was doing pretty good. Yo, my Mojo So Dope 23 says definitely pound for pound #1 based off of resume alone. Yeah, and his fighting skill. He's got a good fighting skill. Underrated. A lot of things about Canelo is underrated. And so they don't want to give him pound for pound #1. Certain people like Marquez, Eric Morales. I was listening to ESPN Deportes announcer, and he didn't want to give him either. He wanted to keep him at top 3. Whether you keep him in the top 3 or you make him #1 pound for pound, he's up there, and he's the cash cow of boxing. So, certain people in the black community on here trying to query Canelo, paint him in such a light that he shouldn't be pound for pound #1. But in my opinion, it's a straightforward case. Whether it is that, you got all these things like Canelo weight that we had. We had Canelo making demands for certain things and calling certain shots. But when you the cash cow in boxing, then you can do that. What are they gonna do? You know, Cotto did the same thing. He called the shots when he was in boxing. You know, Pacquiao does the same thing too. So I mean, it's just what it is. Boxing's always had an A side and a B side from God knows how long. You know, it is what it is. Um, yeah, peoples. Yeah, man. I'm feeling the sleep coming on again. So I'm gonna go take a rest. You guys have a good one. I got more videos. I got more stuff. We got more content for you guys. I just have to get it packaged out. Um, looking forward to Nonito Donaire during this week. Nonito Donaire versus Naoya Inoue. Donaire looks strong as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Donaire looks strong as fuck, folks. That's gonna be a good ass fight. I'm backing Donaire to win. I have no logic behind what I'm saying, except I'm backing the older guy. If Inoue beats Donaire, it's no problem. I'm riding with Donaire. I'm not doing it because I've studied Donaire and I've studied Inoue, and I'm like, oh, okay, Donaire's that. I'm coming from this aspect. Donaire's faced bigger, stronger guys at higher weight classes. He's been successful winning titles at higher weight classes. He's come down to his preferred weight class. I think he's bigger and stronger than Naoya Inoue. I was watching them stand next to each other, and Donaire looks just a heap stronger. Bigger hands, bigger knuckles, bigger wrists. I think he's got a wealth of experience. So I think Donaire, I know Inoue's not going to just run through Donaire. The question is, would Donaire be able to box with Inoue? That's the question. Yeah. That's a good fight. Now, of course, you got KSI versus Paul Logan. Should be or Logan Paul, should I say. That's this coming weekend. So, guys, this is what you need. I hope you guys have a good one. Mr. Hulk333 says, Kovalev is a great actor from getting knocked the hell out. He should get an Academy Award. Yo, my mojo so dope. 23 says, peace. Peace, brother. And peace to all you guys. Have a good night. Stay safe. Have a good sleep. Peace.